Time with our next guest, Baylor head basketball coach Scott Drew. Coach, thanks for hopping on the show. You've not gotten to ease into your summer. You've got transfers and recruiting and all these things going on. Like it's fast and furious, especially May 31st and June 1st for you guys.
It definitely has. The calendar has changed for men's basketball, and what used to be May was our down month, rejuvenate month. Players go home. We take a break. Our kids get out. We get a vacation that last week in May. Throw all that out the window, and everything needs to be done in August from here on out.
Coach, obviously some movement this week. Adam Flagler made his final decision, and he's no longer going to be with you guys and moving on. But I've seen, Kendall Kaut had like his all-time Baylor list and where Adam ranked, and, just a lot of reflection. Can you reflect on us, even though, it's been a process and you probably had an idea for a while this was a potential outcome, just reflecting on Adam Flagler, the man, the player, and what he brought to Baylor University?
Yeah, well, Adam, whenever you leave a university with records, and for him, Baylor's all-time winning NCAA point scorer, that means you've had a tremendous career. And what made Adam so special was the way in which he did a great job representing our basketball program, Baylor University, Central Texas. Pre-med major, great student, great in the community. Spiritually was a great role model and leader for our team. And then obviously we're the winningest Power 5 program in the last 4 years, and he's been a part of that.
Coach, we had Bill Peterson spoke at our Academic All-Stars banquet a couple weeks ago, and by the way, absolutely knocked it out of the park, which I know that you're not surprised about. But he and I were talking before the thing, and I asked him about the kind, like, how do you know about a guy that's like a Baylor guy that fits? And he talked about how you guys have kind of located these gym rats, people who just breathe basketball. And I think that Adam Flagler kind of almost perfectly personifies that, doesn't he?
Well, definitely anyone that develops in our program, they develop because of the work they put in. And they got to want it more than we want it. So you get to college, and we all can remember back when we were in college, those that studied the hardest usually had the best grades. Those that spent more time in the social scene probably suffered athletically or academically. But life is about choices, and people that love basketball, love to be in the gym, love to work to get better, high character, great teammates. Those are the ones that have really thrived in our program, because there's so many distractions in college, and if you start getting too many hobbies, your main craft suffers. And for us, we've had a culture of hard work and high character, great teammates, and hence that's why there's 363 teams, and whenever you're in the last 4 years, we've been a top 3 seed in the last NCAA tournaments, and that's one of 4 schools to do that. And again, that means you're sacrificing, you're spending time in the gym when others aren't.
I can't imagine the difference now between when you first arrive, walking into a school, walking in to talk to a prospect, but just compared to even these last 4 or 5 years. What's it like walking in to a place with a Baylor logo on your chest? Not that you're any more proud, but just in terms of the way you're kind of, I guess, perceived in some ways, or maybe you're welcomed. Mm-hmm. Have you noticed any major differences in that regard here over the last 2, 3, 4 years?
Well, definitely. I think first, people answer the phone. They're excited to talk with you. They know about you, and it's amazing just how people are familiar with our program's success, our players, what our school's about, and that makes it so much easier when people already have a good perception of what you're selling. At the same time, it's kind of like a lot of teenagers are into cars, and whatever the sexiest, coolest car is, they want to drive or want to be a part of, and because of our players' sacrifice and how they've not only represented us on the court, but also the reputation our players have gotten off the court. A lot of people talk highly of Baylor University and the chance to come here, develop, and the freedom to improve as a player and showcase what you can do and do it at the highest stage. So it's definitely made things easier. And as we know, life is always about adjusting, though. And now you have the transfer portal. Now you have NIL, and those that adapt, those that change, you stay on the cutting edge. Those that don't, you go through adjustment periods, and nobody likes to be going through adjustment periods.
Scott, you added Ray J. Dennis, the MAC Player of the Year, to your roster officially today through the transfer portal. He was fantastic for Toledo. This is, especially the day after you used Adam Flagler, and you obviously Craig mentioned you guys have to plan for every eventuality, but to get that turned around so quickly and to have a player of that caliber jump in, what was that like? What can fans expect from Ray J?
Well, Ray J is somebody that scores it at a high level, top 10 scorer in college basketball. As far as terms of portal players, and somebody that the MAC has always had a great tradition of having outstanding players. But he's somebody that helped his team win conference, has an unbelievable assist to turnover ratio. So people like playing with guys that give up the ball on time, on target, make you look good, high character individual. People that know him really like him. And whenever you have a point guards like that, people want to play with them. And he was drawn to the current roster we have and our past players that have been here and what they've been able to achieve. And nowadays in social media realm of things, they all talk. And he got a chance to on his visit spend time with our guys. And that, at the end of the day, they're your best recruiters. And our players have done a great job in attracting other quality young men to be a part of our program. On a side note, Coach Rhodes, and I call Coach Rhodes, Mac Rhodes, our athletic director. He should have been a coach. He's really good, but he's familiar with the old Toledo AD that just retired or resigned, and he sent him a nice text just about what a quality individual and what a great family Ray J comes from. So somebody that is really well thought of.
So, you obviously have guys who are making decisions, and we mentioned Adam a couple of times now, but you're also, recruiting guys like we were just talking about here. It seems like there's a lot of plates in the air, and you don't know exactly when they're going to land or, how much longer they have to keep spinning. So is it as complicated as it seems from the outside? Roster management, is it far more complicated than it was in previous years, or is it maybe blown out of proportion? It just seems like it's pretty complex given the uncertainties that you have to deal with.
No, it definitely is what it seems and looks like. I think from a coaching industry, I know we'll work to try to make recruiting periods and everything easier, so there is more stability. And I think as people get used to NIL portal and all that, is rules come into place to limit chaos, because at the end of the day, when players come and go, it also affects the players that are still there. Like if you're a great big man and all of a sudden you lose a great point guard and you don't bring in a great point guard, now that might be your senior year, and you're like, well, wait a minute, now I'm paying the price for not being in this position. So I think everybody wants to make this process easier, quicker, better, more efficient. Some of the complications revolve around the NBA's schedule and their deadlines. So it's a clamor of a lot of people working together. And the NBA deadline was just on the 31st. So now those that came back to college or entered the portal next couple of days, weeks, will be making their decisions. But I think definitely in the future, things will get easier and simpler for everybody. And that's, I know, at least our staff's goal with helping with the recruiting calendar in the future moving forward, because definitely this year's been harder than any other year for most programs just to know exactly who they have and what they're going to work with. And the sooner you do, again, at the end of the day, people come to college to get a degree, and you want to make sure that they leave college with a degree. And for those that are blessed with an opportunity to go to the NBA early, that's not the majority, and the majority are going to go into the workforce when they're done playing, and that college degree really is beneficial. So I think that's a long-winded answer, but I think I covered a lot of stuff right there.
Yeah. No, and it's great, too, because we as the media, sometimes we might blow things out of proportion just on occasion, but, it's good to know that we're kind of, the craziness is as it appears to be, so we're not blowing that out of proportion, so good to know.
Scott, you have to build. I mean, basketball changes and moves, and obviously you want to have big depth down low. And I know that you guys are waiting on Jalen's decision on what he's going to do and how that will affect what you do moving forward. But you have built another guard heavy roster because that's kind of where basketball is taking its turn. What are the challenges in recruiting a guard heavy roster, because most guards want to score, and balancing that in the modern context of you may only get a guy for a year, and if he doesn't get the ball enough, then you have to kind of start from scratch again.
Again, I think in this transition period, hopefully we get to a more stable environment. But great players want to play with great players, or should, because everybody wants to play in the NBA, and the last I checked, there's good players in the NBA. So you better know how to play with good players around you. And the same goes in the NBA. There's one basketball, and there's 10 players on the court. So you got to be able to play with the ball, without the ball. And sometimes I know that's tough because everybody wants the ball. But the reality is, if you're going to play at the highest level, you got to be able to play with it, without it. You're right. The game constantly has changed. It used to be back in the day, every 7-footer was in the highest demand, and nowadays everybody wants versatile players that can guard 1 through 5 and be positionless. And 6'4" to 6'9" 6'10" seems to be the perfect formula for with the switching defenses they play in the NBA. But in college, same thing. Everything trickles down to us. The more guys that can handle the ball, make plays, the better your team is. With us, hopefully after this draft, we'll have had the most players under 6'4" drafted in the last few years. So I think guys have come here and been successful and showed they can play with or without the basketball. And when you play a game that's as fast-paced as it is nowadays, and with the 3-ball, that's really the equalizer. So that's why you got so many bigs shooting the 3 and playing on the perimeter as well.
Coach, you bring up the NBA. I'm glad you did, because I wanted to ask about just the kind of current landscape of Bears in the NBA. It doesn't seem it's from all indications the healthiest lineup of players in the pros that the program's ever had, and not just guys being there, but having impacts. Davion Mitchell, obviously, Jeremy Sohan, they're loving him down in San Antonio. Ish having a role in the Suns. I mean, so on and so forth. And Keontae's going to join that fold as well. How much does that? Is that impact felt? How much is that a tool for you guys, not just to be happy for your guys, but to also shine some light on the program, to be able to use in recruiting? Am I making a bigger deal of that pro success than it really is, or is that as impactful as it may appear to be?
No, definitely very impactful. And us and Gonzaga are the only two to have back-to-back top 10 picks. And hopefully after this draft, we have a third one. So with a lot of players they can identify. We've had so many guys, different sizes. If you're big, we've had a lot of bigs, starting with Epe Udoh, the 6th pick in the draft. You got your Quincy Aces, your Corey Jeffersons, your Isaiah Austin. A lot of people, Isaiah is still working with the NBA. A lot of people know about his story. You got Freddie Gillespie, who did play with the Raptors. If you go to the wings, Torian Prince and Royce O'Neal and the issue you named with the Suns, but Royce and TP have played major roles with their teams in the last few years. Jeremy, with the success he had this year and all the accolades he was able to achieve with the Spurs. Kendall is coming off an injury, but hopefully Kendall Brown will get more of an opportunity next year. Davion and Jared, and we also, the defense, Davion played against Steph and Golden State. But a lot of people come in and they want to be Davion. They want to be Jared. They want to be Royce-ish, TP, whoever. So that's great that you have people that are having success in the pros. And the pride they have, there's a lot of times that those guys got bragging rights with other teammates from Kansas or Texas or wherever on their team. So they always are watching and hoping that they can wear that Baylor T-shirt in the next shoot around in front of their teammates. So we all work together.
Davion permanently. So his new ink, he's got that Baylor there tatted on him. I saw that earlier this week. So that's a lot of pride right there. Is that weird in a good way? But watching him, you've had plenty of guys that move on to the pros and have big moments, but like you're sitting there and Davion's right on Steph, like he's just right on him, like he was. You watched him so many times. What's that like for you?
You're excited and you're cheering them on, and and again, you said, how does that work in recruiting? Ray J's mom's a big Golden State fan, and she was like, Davion, we saw what he was doing to Steph, and so again, that all comes into play.
Scott, I have to tell you the story while we have you on. Last year when Jeremy got drafted, I was on the radio station in San Antonio, and they were, we kind of wanted more of a scorer or this guy, or they kind of had their mindset on this. Of course, now they've won the lottery and they're going to get Wemby and everything's kind of rosy again in the River City. But I said, look, the Spursiest dude, and I've followed the Spurs for a long time, that I've ever seen play in college was Jeremy Sohan. I thought he was going to fit there amazingly because of the way that he just kind of absorbs things and the style of basketball he plays, and it certainly played out because that was as good a fit as I can possibly imagine for a young player in the NBA in their first year.
See, you should have been part of their scouting division because they saw the same thing you did, and obviously they've been thrilled with all his success. So and what you love is he's close. He comes up sometimes. A couple of our guys have gone down and seen him, and he has a great love for Baylor. And I know that we're excited to watch him the next couple of years as well.
Coach, before we let you go, there was the announcement about the Auburn game at Sanford Pentagon. You guys aren't afraid to play anybody. We see that year after year. You always have a great schedule, and there's, you're going to be at Barclays Center and just all these other places. But what was your experience like at Sanford Pentagon? Are you glad to be going back and taking on the Tigers?
Well, it was it sold out in 7 or 8 minutes last year, and then an unbelievable game against Gonzaga with a win at the buzzer. And they just really get excited, take such great care of the teams that are there. We're really excited to be back there. And like you said, Barclays, and then you got the Madison Square Garden. We're last year, a third toughest schedule in the country, I believe, and this year should be about the same. So we definitely don't duck anybody, and the great thing is the NCAA rewards those that play hard schedules. So we're taking full advantage of that. Our guys love playing against the best, and it makes you better. Iron sharpens iron, and then obviously Big 12 play. We know how tough the Big 12 is. So our fans, I can't wait till next year, the last year in the Farrell, then we're in the Pavilion. A lot to be excited for. We'll finish the roster here soon. You'll know exactly who's on the Baylor Bear team this year. But we're excited and think it's going to be a real fun year.
All right, Scott, last thing I've got to ask you. The next time you and I talk, more than likely, unless it's in the next week, I will be married. I'm getting married in 12 days in Hawaii to a Kansas fan who I told you about. And a diehard, a very diehard Kansas fan, Scott. Do you have any marriage advice on that, and how to deal with the nights where Kansas might actually lose, which are few and far between?
Yeah, Well, just don't rub it in. If win we beat Kansas, and the next thing I will tell you, if you can't beat them, join them. So I'm sure every Kansas fan wants to be a Baylor Bear, so she's making her way over. I like that. Hey, congrats on that. You guys have a great wedding, and look forward to she can cheer for the Big 12 all she wants, too, so she'll love Baylor in the non-conference. We're good.
All right. Thanks, Scott. Appreciate it. Always great to talk to you. Have a great summer and wrapping up the roster here in the next few weeks.
Appreciate you guys. Thanks for all that you do.
There you go. Scott Drew, a great guest and friend of the show. And this Baylor Athletic segment is, of course, brought to you by Richard Carr Motors, Buick, GMC, Cadillac, people you can count on.
Yeah, a lot of good stuff there.